And now, the Kill or Be Killed podcast with Damian Ross, founder and master instructor of the Self-Defense Company.
We're good. Hey, man. So, Jason, Josh, told me what you guys were doing, and I had to immediately get you on the show, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on because I've got limited personal experience with kind of what you're doing, and I'll let you explain that better than me because I can't. But I really this is a little something cutting edge, and now people are starting to wrap their heads around these types of therapies for what you're experiencing. So if you want to talk, let's start talking about Outpost Healing, and anything that we talk about, there'll be a link, for people to donate, get more information, and all that stuff. So tell me about Outpost Healing, man.
Well, Outpost Healing is something my wife and I started. We came up with my last tour of Iraq. I did 3 tours of Iraq, and
okay, thank you.
January 28th of 2008, I had a catastrophic kill on my lead vehicle. I lost 5 guys, and that threw me into a PTSD that I'd always been somebody. My memory and everything was good.
Yeah,
outstanding. My confidence level, my knowledge and all that, it was all there, and in one day it was gone. It just
so that was like the first sign of you realizing that something wasn't right.
I thought that was the first sign. Looking back on it now, I realized that after the invasion of Iraq, I had symptoms of PTSD then, because my memory had gone down. It just wasn't acute. It wasn't something that was bothersome every day or anything like that. It wasn't something that I thought. I was like everybody else. PTSD, it wasn't real.
Really?
Yes. PTSD, the stigma in the military about PTSD, it's weakness, period.
Sure, I get that.
So
I see that.
The second you show that weakness, your job's gone. You're going to get yanked off the line. You're going to get shoved up in staff. You're going to get pushed around, and eventually they're going to do the best to get you out.
Wow.
And that started to get better, I'd say around 2010 to around 2015. And the guys that I know, I retired in 15, and the guys that I know that are still in, it's just going back to that stigma. But being a guy that didn't believe in PTSD, coming home from my last tour and not being me at all, I wasn't me. There was nothing. I had no confidence. I didn't believe I knew what I was doing in my job, and I was still active duty working at a 4-star emergency operations center. And it just, at that point, it became a mission to me. When I got diagnosed, they're like, no, this is severe PTSD. It became a mission to me because I see guys that were infantry like me that were senior NCOs, and they're waking up in the middle of the night clearing their house too.
Wow.
And they're like, nah, this is just normal. This is what infantry guys do. I'm like, nah, bro, that's PTSD.
Right.
I know, I do that.
Right.
So I just started talking to everybody I could about it while I was in. And the last year I was in, I was going through some medical issues. I've got 7 crushed discs in my back. I've got a RPG hit the wall kind of close to me in 2003, and I've had a headache ever since. Well, it's a migraine syndrome. So I start going through all this stuff, and they bring up this drug called Marinol for chronic pain, neuropathic pain, and it's THC pills. It's been an approved medicine from the FDA since 1984 for cancer and AIDS patients, for appetite, and for nausea suppression. Well, here I am, active duty, infantry, and I'm the first guy in this Marinol trial at SAMC to have Marinol for PTSD and chronic pain. So they take away all my opiate pain medications, which I'm on a slew of them. They take away all my psych meds, and they give me this one pill. The next morning, I played 12 holes of golf. It was the first time I'd played golf in 3 years because of pain.
Wow.
Changed my life over. And I slept that night, which was different. So,
oh my God.
Here I am. I'm like, I've kicked guys out of the Army for this. And
right,
now
right.
You're giving me THC and it's helping. Something's not right here.
Right.
So, along with just starting to research cannabis a lot more, I dove off the deep end into psychedelic medicine because at this point I've been through 8 years of therapy for PTSD. I'm still having nightmares. I'm still having flashbacks. It's just
now the traditional treatment for this, like you go in, okay, obviously now you're saying there's a stigma against it, so it's obviously not something you want to do, but it got bad enough where you're like, I got to get back to being me. And
in Iraq, it got bad. I couldn't sleep. After I lost my guys, I spent about a month and a half, 2 months. I couldn't sleep.
I can't even imagine.
So you're rolling out the wire on mission and you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And the way I viewed Iraqis at this point was they were rodents. And when my commander heard that, he decided I needed to come. He was afraid. I was seeing IEDs that weren't happening. I knew they weren't happening, but I was seeing them.
Right.
And they were real to me. And I'm having to grab the screen of my FBCB2 to keep my hand from shaking. And I'm like, all right, it's not there. It's not there. Just get through this. Because I don't want any of my guys to see this.
Right.
But I'm freaking out.
I mean, I feel like it's a massive defense mechanism.
Yes.
What your mind does to get you hyper ready and just not let that shit happen again.
Exactly. And it's a real butt kicker when you realize you can't protect your guys. When you lose guys, it's you have no say in this. You just hope you get them before they get you.
Yeah.
So that incident shook me to my core. And then having that, I'd always been one that prided myself on trying to see the humanity and the compassion. You don't just, once you've got the enemy, you cuff him and you take him back. That's all you can do. You don't get to beat the crap out of them. You don't get to degrade them as humans. That's what you do. But here I am looking at all Iraqis like, y'all aren't any better than rodents. I kill all of you. I don't care.
And again, I see how that develops easily.
That shook me to my core. And the BC pulling me out of the line and putting me up in staff was probably the best thing he could have done.
Right.
And he was afraid I was just going to think one of these IEDs was real and waste a crowd of civilians.
Right.
And I don't know if that would have happened or not.
Right. You're not getting better in your current situation.
Exactly. So that was 2008. So 2015, I'm going through my medical, and that's where all this is. The nightmares, the pain, everything else is just culminated into this.
So you're saying
pretty much done.
You're saying 7 years you went through the nightmares,
flashbacks.
Before you started, you went 7 years before you started
I started seeing a therapist 2 months after I lost my guys in Iraq in 2008. I went in, I couldn't sleep, and they said the mental health guys would give you Ambien and you could sleep. And I'm like, cool, I'll go get some Ambien. So I'm going up to this shack, and that's where they're doing all the mental health stuff. And at this point, I'm just like, I just need to get through this. I'll be fine.
Right.
So I walk in, I'm like, I just need Ambien. I can't sleep. And they're like, well, you have to talk to the therapist first. I almost walked out.
Right.
There was a black lab that was there, kind of like a service dog, but he was there to just help folks. He wouldn't leave my side. He wouldn't let me leave.
Huh.
It was
wow. Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that in a while.
Oh man. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's all good.
he wouldn't let me leave. His name was Budge. Sergeant First Class Budge. We were the same rank. But he wouldn't let me leave, so I ended up talking to this Navy guy, Commander Convoy.
Okay.
And he ended up going up to the Pentagon and working in mental health up there at some of the highest levels. He was a great guy. And I ended up going back to see him every week after that. And before his PTSD, they called it acute stress disorder.
Right. Yeah.
And after 6 months of persistent symptoms, it's okay, this is PTSD. So I saw him the whole remainder of the time I was in Iraq, which was started seeing him March time frame, and I left. So about 11 months, because I ended up going back in March of. I was on rear D or trail party cleaning everything out, but so I saw him for 11 months. Got back PCS to Fort Monroe, and immediately went back into therapy. And I was in therapy pretty much the rest of my Army career.
And then so it was the therapy, and then
It's
and Ambien. I mean, how are they treating you? What are they giving you?
They gave me Zoloft immediately in Iraq when they identified the acute stress disorder. They're like, "Here's Zoloft. Okay. We get you at a high dosage of this, and this tends to mitigate the possibility of long-term PTSD."
Did it help?
Other stuff. It helped me not care about anything. That's all it did.
Yeah. So it's not just the PTSD. It's everything. He just didn't give a shit.
The doc, when he gave it to me, he said, flat out warned me. He goes, "I'm going to warn you. We call this fuck it all."
Oh,
because that's how you feel.
Right. And
it got in an argument with a couple of sergeant majors I probably wouldn't have gotten in arguments with in Iraq.
Right. Sure.
Had I not been on that. But it helped me get through the rest of Iraq. But being numb to everything is no way to live.
Yeah, that's just, you might as well, right.
Yeah, it's just garbage. So I got back from Iraq and got off Zoloft, and they put me on this Wellbutrin crap. And I drive around thinking about shooting myself in the head for 6.5 hours. I go to the doctor and I'm like, "Yo,
right.
I carry a gun everywhere I go.
Right.
Is this a good idea? Take it for 2 weeks. You'll get through it." No.
Yeah.
No. So they gave me the rescue med, Xanax. So I could just, when I was having real bad issues, I could take a Xanax instead of drinking, which I started doing a lot of.
Of course. Right.
Yeah. So the Xanax helps, but still nobody wants to be on the stigma, the help, the healing that you're looking for. You want to be back to somewhat of a normal.
Right.
You want to be able to feel again. You don't want to have to take a drug not to kill somebody.
Right. Right.
So, and then you've got survival's guilt. You're dealing with suicidal ideations and all that.
Right.
From the time I was a teen, I'd always looked at suicide. I despised it.
Sure.
So here I was having suicidal thoughts going, "What the fuck is this?"
Right. Right.
So it changed everything. And my last my last several years in the military was just, it was diminished because of that stigma and not actually getting. They're trying to give you help, but what they don't realize is the help has to come holistically. You can't just go to a therapist once a week for an hour and that's going to be help and that's going to fix you at your job.
Right.
And then you've got the guys at your job that are like, oh, PTSD isn't real. And you look at them and like, bro,
right
in the mirror, dude, you didn't act like that. I had 2 tours under my belt before you left. You went with us on this last one. You come back and you want to fight me.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have PTSD. That's right.
Right.
But if you're going to save your career, you can't show any weakness. So that's why everybody's angry.
Right. So it sounds like, yeah, I mean, especially growing up the generation that you did, I mean, I assume we're about the same age. I'm like, this is not, like mental health stigma with that. It's like you got to be able to handle your shit, whatever they throw at you, and just deal with it, and that's it, right? So, how'd you get into service? I mean, what made you join up?
Well, in the late 80s, I got arrested and was facing a felony and got a choice of joining service or you're going to do 3 years. And I went to the Marine Corps. Then I got out of the Marine Corps in 94, did some time as a police officer for a little while in Richmond. Figured out I didn't like that shit.
Yeah.
So was working at Napa, just floundering, and was like, the last time I felt like I actually accomplished anything at the end of the day was in the Marines.
Right.
I'm going back in the Army because I couldn't get airborne school in the Marine Corps. And I know I'm not going to get airborne school in the Marine Corps because it's a bitch to get airborne school in the Marine Corps.
All right.
It's only recons airborne in the Marine Corps and Raiders now. They didn't have those.
Okay.
Things. So we'd worked some with the 82nd when I was in the Corps, and I'm like, that's where I'm going. Those are real infantrymen. I can deal with that.
Right.
So 99 went in the reserves. Quickly figured out that wasn't enough. 2000 back in the Army, and as a truck driver. Because when you go through I was infantry in the Marine Corps.
Right.
But when you're prior service and you go through MEPS and you're going back in, you get to wait to the end of the day to pick your MOS, and it's the last of what's left of the quota for the day.
Right.
So I spent about a year and a half as a truck driver out in Fort Irwin, and did a request to go back to the infantry, go to the 82nd, and November of 2002, I was in the 82nd, and March of 03, we flew up. My battalion, our 2 sister battalions flew. They'd been in they'd been in Kuwait. We flew to RR Saudi Arabia and waited for the war to kick off. We were supposed to jump on the BIOP, and all that went out the window and crossed the border.
So now you go through this and you're 7 years, battling. So now you started the THC pills. When did they give you those? So
they gave me those in February of 2015.
Okay. And then then you started. So
that was life-changing.
Life-changing. Total life-changing moment, right? So now what's your next step after that?
I was so blown away they gave me marijuana that I was like, okay, what else are you lying about?
Right.
And I dove off the deep end reading scientific study research papers about natural medicines, alternative medicines.
Right.
My series trying to talk to him. But and I start stumbling on psychedelic research studies from the 50s and 60s. And there's pain studies from the 1960s where they were giving people thresholds, so 100 microgram doses of LSD for cluster headaches. And those cluster headaches are going away for weeks, sometimes months. And I'm like, okay, but people freak out on LSD, do all kinds of stupid stuff, right?
So we were told, yeah.
What's that?
So we were told, yes.
Yeah. So I start doing more research on that. I'm like, that's a long commitment, but I'm suicidal at this point.
Right.
They've given me THC. I'm like, something's not right. So I start reading about what they were doing in the 60s with psychedelic therapy, which is something that nobody ever talked about. Nobody would tell you that they were doing therapy with it. Nobody would tell you mathematicians were going into rooms for 8 hours at a time, tripping on 500 micrograms of LSD to figure out problems they couldn't solve. And these are rocket scientists.
Right.
Nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about Timothy Leary.
Yeah, and Charles Manson and
and
all that. Like,
this is all bullshit. So a lot of me wants I'm done. So I go off the deep end, start reading about ayahuasca retreats and stuff like that, and stumble upon information on DMT and how to extract it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, there's people going to the jungle taking ayahuasca, which DMT is the active ingredient in ayahuasca.
Right.
They're just doing it so it's an 8-hour thing. You extract it and smoke it. It's a 5 to 20 minute thing.
Right.
I'm still scared to death of this shit at this point.
Right.
Like there's no guides. This is 2015 going into 2016.
Right.
I retired.
And for those people who don't know, DMT's dimethyltryptophan, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And the body naturally produces it.
It exists in every living thing in some quantity, which is mind-boggling. But it's also the thing that they think our brain releases when we have near-death experiences or when we die. We have all the flash. They think DMT is the psychedelic that releases that causes that. So I'm reading about these retreats down there, and all I can do is find Erowid is one of the Erowid.com, or is it .org? I don't know. It's one of the websites that's been around for probably 20, 30 years about drugs, period.
Right.
And a lot of it, oh God, what's his name? The guy that wrote Pickle and Tickle. Sasha Shulgin.
Okay.
Erowid was started to keep his work going because he was a chemist for the DEA.
Okay.
And he made over 200, I think it was 240 psychedelic compounds.
Wow.
And tried all of them and wrote extensively about them and how they could be used in therapy, and gave his information to the DEA.
It totally explains Pickle and Tickle.
Yes. It's phenomethylates that I have loved and tryptamines that I have loved is what but those two books him and his wife wrote together, specifically researching psychedelics and healing and all that stuff. So I'm just devouring as much of this stuff as I can as I'm retiring from the Army. And I start reading about ayahuasca and setting, integration being the most important things with psychedelics. And
so when you say setting and integration, what exactly does that mean?
Setting would be the physical setting of where you're at. Set is mindset going into an experience.
So
setting an intent or a purpose behind a psychedelic experience
Okay.
is
So
one of
what?
the
So what
protocols.
would be a good? Obviously, now I guess we're talking about avoiding what people would refer to as a bad trip.
I don't even believe in bad trips.
Okay. How
I,
come?
it's
I don't.
it's a learning experience. They're
Okay.
all like, people talk about ego death with psychedelics. I don't believe in that shit either.
Okay.
That
Interesting.
doesn't happen.
Right.
We retain our egos. We have we have a dissolution of the ego. We have a feeling of a connectedness of everything. But to say the ego dies and that's what changed, no. It does. I mean, nobody comes out of a trip without an ego. So how is
Right.
it? We come out with new knowledge. So it's a learning experience, but it is ego death. Is it a bad trip? My opinion of what people phrase as a bad trip is we all can have a negative experience in a psychedelic experience. The reason it starts to go negative is it's addressing something that you obviously need to address.
Right.
It's showing you something
Understood. Right.
you need to address. Now, the fear that the negativity, in my opinion, that comes from it is the fear of addressing that issue. You're not ready for it.
Right.
And psychedelics can make it easier to address those issues, but they can also, if you're not properly prepared with mindset, setting, education. That was one of the scariest things for me. There was no education other than me reading a shit ton of books and
Right.
papers. When I had my first experience, it was just, all right, I hope this works out all right.
Right.
There
Let her
was,
rip.
yeah, there was, I'd read everything. I'm like, I got a hold of some mimosa root bark and I stripped DMT, got it ready, and was like, well, it's going to kill me or it's going to heal me. And I was already being killed, so fuck it.
Yeah. Right. I'm here. Right.
Yeah,
It's like
I got nothing to lose.
right.
And it wasn't, the first time I did DMT was not like life changing like THC was.
Uh-huh.
It was more informative because it was
Okay.
just it was mind opening. I got to let go of a lot of anger and think about a lot of things in a different way when I came out of it. It was just, it was hard to explain. There was more, I guess they describe it as elasticity to my thoughts as
Got it.
opposed to rigidity.
Now, would you say like it kind of rewired the way you approach things?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's probably a better way to say it. Yeah.
Right. Because I'm just speaking from my minimal experience with psilocybin has, remapped just the way I thought about it. And to bring you back now, after you went off, after you took your first, I guess we're going to say dosage of DMT, once you came out, you didn't need to be under the influence anymore in order to have the benefits.
I didn't mess with it again for months.
Yeah.
Right. It was just, there was a new feeling. Something was different. And
Right.
it was something that was different in a positive way that made me more. I just read more and immediately bought a grow kit from a smoke shop down the street for mushrooms because I've been reading about mushrooms. I immediately went out and I'm like, okay, so psychedelics can't kill you, but the opiates and the psych meds I've been on are known to be addictive and kill people.
Right.
What the hell have we been doing?
Right.
And then I started reading about MAPS, which is the multi-disciplinary It's not the stupid pedophile crap. It's the it's multi something. Rick Dobbins runs it. It's for psychedelic research. They're the ones that have pushed MDMA to the point that it is about to be once again an FDA approved therapeutic drug, because it was until the 80s.
And then they Schedule 1 it, right? It's a Schedule 1
Schedule
drug.
1 did, I think, in 83, maybe.
Now,
I know it was the 80s.
So now, when you took your first, so how did you figure out to get the mimosa root, and then you're
Erowid.
You smoke
the website Erowid.
Okay, and then you're supposed, like, you don't know what to expect. You're doing this on your own, right?
Yeah. The first time I did the DMT, nothing. There was a friend of mine that was visiting me that we invaded Iraq together, and I didn't see him again until I went to Korea in 2011. And then in 2015, he's retiring the same time I am, and he's passing through San Antonio because he's retired out of Hawaii. And he came and stayed at my house, and we got to talking about it, and I told him, because he was having a lot of the same issues I was having, and he said, "I'll trip sit you if you let me." And I was like, "All right."
Right.
And I was the only one that knew anything about the shit. He didn't know nothing. He was just willing to sit there and be like, "I'll make sure we're okay." It's like, we're good.
All right.
But he's a brother. Like,
yeah.
There's not many. My wife's the only other person that I've ever sat down and done psychedelics, like a full psychedelic session with. Yeah. But
now, how long did that
personally, I can do psychedelics more now when I need to than I used to, but for a very long time, the only time I would ever do them around someone specifically was my wife.
Right. So now,
but that security, that tight-knit relationship or feeling with someone when you're going to have an experience and you're seeking, especially if you're seeking to heal, that tight-knit relationship with somebody is important. And that's part of what led us to doing the Outpost Healing thing. We're concentrating on disabled veterans because that shared experience tends to be able to connect people quicker for that trust.
So how did you start to transition into helping others, and how did you get Outpost Healing? What were the beginnings of it?
I went from that one experience of DMT to doing a lot more reading, research, joined a bunch of forums, and I was growing mushrooms, so got in touch with quite a few people that are growing mushrooms through social media platforms.
Right.
And we had always wanted to buy some property up here and just open a free campground, like recreational facility for disabled veterans, that you could come out and get nature therapy, because that's one thing her and I have always believed in. Nature heals, period. You get outside on a walk in the mountains, in the woods, 30 minutes, and you feel like a new person.
Right.
So that's
amazing, right?
That was a concentration for Outpost Healing. That's what started that. The psychedelics, that's something my wife and I have been very underground with until this year. And when Colorado passed Prop 122, which was the Natural Medicine Act,
right?
We already had the nonprofit. We've got the land, the campground. We're guiding hunts and nature therapy. That's the big thing. Just building that tribe again, that you just get together, go out and walk, talk, and you've got the shared experiences. Colorado passed Prop 122 and opened up the ability for us to do this. And I was like, I've been doing this since 2015. We both have. And this is saving lives. This is something that needs to be available to more people. And talk to the board members, and we're all like, all right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna add to the outfitters and campground thing we got going on, and we're gonna do the psychedelic therapy and offer it for free to disabled veterans.
Wow.
So her and we've been facilitating psychedelics for, like I said, the last 7 years now, going on 8. But it's been strictly underground. With this, we're really looking forward to being able to bring people out here, because it's also not something that's a one-day thing either. You come out for a week, you spend some days getting to know everybody, get prepped, get educated on what you're going to go through, on what psilocybin's all about, and how it can help. You get your mindset, which is basically setting an intent. Like, what's your goal in going through the process, and what's the most comfortable setting for it. Nature tends to be something that is very healing. So it's very primitive out at the property where we're at. And Mount Blanca, Mount Lindsay, Ellingwood Point, and Little Bear Peak. It's a 14,000 foot peaks. It's just right at it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. And you just feel really, really connected with Earth and with nature when you're out there. So large tents with pillows, blankets, and make yourself comfortable. If you want to walk, we'll get up and walk. If you want to talk, we'll talk. We'll listen to music. Obviously, we're not listening to heavy metal. That's not going to help. But
so now, like, how many, how long have you been officially doing this? And do you guys have a season? Do you do it when somebody just reaches out? Or
my wife and I had been doing it, like I said, underground. We know a lot of vets, a lot of people that need help.
Right.
And she's got PTSD from other issues, not service.
Sure.
But PTSD is PTSD.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it's from, it's the same. And a lot of it is childhood trauma stuff. Even with veterans, it's childhood trauma and PTSD related to combat. So, but I'm sorry, I got a little off track. What was it you were saying?
That's right. Like, if there's like a season you do this, or is it year round? Or
yeah, our next season for openings, we're going to open up in April, and we'll normally shut down the end of August, beginning of September for the psilocybin retreats.
Right.
And that's just because up here, well, one, we firmly believe in heal the healer. So all of the folks that work with us are facilitators and guides to the outfitter service.
Okay.
So the outfitter service is kind of our healing ourselves. Hunting is just, we love hunting. We love being outdoors.
Right.
Love hiking the mountains and looking for elk.
Right.
So, but
I was just listening to just speaking of elk, I was like, God, I was listening to it was on Rogan. He said he had a football player on, and he's like, what's better, sacking Tom Brady or taking an elk? And he's like, sacking Tom Brady is cool. He goes, but there's nothing like taking an elk. Yeah. I was like, holy crap. I'm kind of a city boy when it comes to this stuff, other than some fishing.
So my wife fishes. I don't know how to fish. Yeah, she's teaching us all how to fish.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's like hunting is one of those things. Like, now I just have to, I gotta add it to my skill set, because I'm, looking as I'm moving into the next phase of my life. And that's where I just, that whole experience and just, being able to be connected to, what we eat,
Right.
just, yeah, I don't know.
I hunted with my grandfather when I was younger, but by the time I hit my late teens, I had stopped completely and didn't start again until my late 30s.
Right. Well,
And
I mean,
getting
I blame testosterone in girls for a lot of that.
right.
Come on.
Yeah.
You want to get up at 5 a.m. and go chase a deer, or you want to chase another kind of tail?
Right.
Like, hell, man, that ain't happening.
True.
So how many people do you have on staff? Because it's obviously you mentioned
It's 5 of us on staff right now.
Okay.
Well, no, we've got a part-time 6th on
Okay.
staff. We've all served together at some point in time. I've served with everybody. I think Josh and the other Josh that he's got added on. They're the only 2. I've served with both of it, or with Josh, but not his friend. His friend's an Air Force PJ.
Okay.
But
Wow.
But yeah, everybody else we're all infantry guys. We all served, did at least one tour together overseas.
And the process for contacting you guys is off the website, right?
Yeah, it's right on the website. The phone number's on the website. The contact sheet's on the website. Everything's up there. We're in the process of editing and updating the website because I'm grammatically a moron.
It's a detail you don't need.
You
don't need.
Yeah, I left details behind.
Yeah, that's all right.
I have no censor. Everything just blows out.
Right. I know how that goes. Yeah, I'm ready, fire, aim kind of person myself.
Right. Sometimes I'm fire and that's it.
Right.
Get the ready aim in there.
Right. So now, are you getting any government assistance for any of this, or how do people pay for it?
Up to now, everything's been out of our pockets.
Really?
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, we've got links for donation. We've got an account, but up to now, everything's been out of our pockets. And just being able to help people's enough,
So you guys self-fund this, and if I'm a vet struggling, I can come up there and it's free.
Yeah, come on. Shit, if you're in Colorado and you can't get to us, we'll come get you.
All right. Okay. I've got a side mission to help you, dude. I don't know what I can do, but this is, yeah. All right. So that's incredible, man.
Yeah. Really, where we're based out of, if you're anywhere in Colorado, part of Oklahoma, part of Mexico, part of Texas, hey, pretty much if you're within 6 hours of us, we'll get you here.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's incredible.
And you won't, if you're coming up for our retreats, or if you're coming up to Outpost Healing for something we're hosting, if you just want to go up there and camp, hit us up, let us know, we'll set you up, you can go camp. But if you're coming up for something we're hosting, you don't need it's primitive, but you don't need a place to stay. You don't need food.
Wow.
Hell, if you need toiletries, we'll have them.
Wow. Man.
Our whole thing is I'm being kind of conservative with my experience with LSD and other psychedelics. Sure. Personally, for me, finding what DMT did over the last 7 years, I've got a lot of neuropathic pain, migraine syndrome, stuff like that. And I started reading about pain and psychedelics. And I've probably done close to 1,000 LSD hits over the last 6 years.
Okay.
And most of that was in a 6-month period. And it was for pain. My pain level was such that, and the migraines, it was just such that I wasn't able to move around or get around as well as I needed to be able to get around. I mean,
sure,
we were homesteading and shit, and I wasn't
right.
going to be able to keep doing it.
Right.
So everybody talks about microdosing, and microdosing is amazing. Macrodosing, my pain level still hasn't gone back up. It's been 4 years since I stopped that.
Wow.
I have hardly done any psychedelics in the last 4 years. And I'm back at the pain level I was before I started my medical process in the army of retiring.
Wow.
So that was mind-blowing to me. So that's another thing that I don't know really what we're going to be able to do with it, but that's something there's several senators that have introduced psychedelic research.
Yeah, it's got to get off Schedule 1 because because they can get funding for it. Then I was just talking about this with somebody this morning. Yeah, and that's it. To me, again, which stuff that if I can grow it in my backyard, I should be able to eat it.
Right?
Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
And we know there's no known toxic dose for psilocybin or psilocin, which are the active ingredients in magic mushrooms. We don't have a known toxic dose of LSD.
Huh.
And like the MDMA toxic dose we thought we knew, they just released the papers that saying, yeah, we mixed up MDMA with methamphetamine.
Yeah, I had heard something like that. Right. Right.
That's not the same drug. That's not the same thing.
Right. Now, what's the difference between, the different types of, I hate to use the word trip, but, when you're going through DMT or psilocybin or LSD, what are the different kinds of effects?
I see all these people write trip reports of DMTs this way. My experience, they're so similar in what they do. What I've noticed is visually, geometric patterns sometimes will be different because once you get to a threshold dose, which is the dose that makes you trip or would be a therapeutic session dose, there will be a visual response typically.
Okay.
Very few don't have some sort of a typical distortion. Now, what that distortion will be with LSD, it tends to be more neon color, geometric pattern swirl. DMT, it tended to be geometric black and white more for me.
Okay.
Psilocybin, it kind of a mix between the two, but the actual feelings, smoke to DMT can make you feel like you're going to die because it hurts your lungs. It physically hurts your chest. But other than that, the feeling of just kind of dissolving into the universe and being able to think things out, it's all been the same for me. One of the reasons that I chose LSD over psilocybin mushrooms when I did my macrodosing experiment for pain was because that amount of mushrooms, at the genetics that I had at the time, would have made me upset to my stomach every day.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Right.
And And that's even with extracting with like a lemon tech, making it into a tea or something. You still have some of the alkaloids from mushrooms. I'm like, I don't want the upset stomach. I just want to get to the experience. And the thing about that with the macrodosing is after the first day, if you take the same dose the second day, you really don't get anything.
Really?
Nothing happens. So that's part of the reason psychedelics aren't physically really emotionally or mentally addictive either.
Right.
The build tolerance is so fast that you can't keep up.
Wow.
It relies on the serotonin from your gut to get to your brain to have an effect, and you run out of serotonin. And
okay, and it can't deliver it.
Yeah, and it can't deliver, and bam, you're done. You can't. You're not gonna. No matter how much you take, say you start taking 100 micrograms or 3 grams of psilocybin mushrooms today.
Right.
5 days from now, well, tomorrow you take the same amount. You might feel a little bit. You're not gonna feel much. 5 days from now, you're not gonna feel anything. Now, the medical benefits behind the drug don't dissipate as far as pain.
Right.
And that's what I was doing with the LSD.
Right.
At least that's been my experience. The psychedelic effects completely disappear once you get, it's kind of like opiates and building a tolerance, or the Zoloft. Zoloft is a perfect example. They want you to build up to the level they want you to be at a tolerance. The side effects of Zoloft are horrible, like teeth clenching, like clenching your fists all the time. And you don't care about anything. Right. But they get you to your tolerance dose, and then you take that, and you shouldn't have any negative side effects once you're at that dose. Same thing with psilocybin or LSD if you're using it for something other than a psychedelic therapy session for treating mental health. At least that's the experience and what I was able to get out of what I was able to find on the 60s pain studies. But that shit all got shut down.
Yeah. So now you start, so when you're going back to your pain therapy with LSD, so you trip and then the next day you're taking the same, you're upping the dosage, or it's the same amount?
I would get to 200 micrograms. So the first day I'd take 100, the second day I'd take 200, it'd be a little bit. And the third day, 200, fourth day, 200, fifth day, 200, and then 3 days off, and then repeat. And I did that for 6 months, and my pain level just kept going down throughout the entire 6 months, and it hasn't gone back up. It's been 4 years.
Wow. So,
but that was something that I found all these scientific studies on pain for LSD, psilocybin, and then I've been reading about, mental health. I knew it helped there because, hell, LSD is part of the reason I stopped thinking about suicide for so long. I was in the middle of an experience and thought about grabbing my gun and shooting myself, and was able to go, why am I having this thought? There was no urge to go get it. It was like the thought popped up, and I was able for the first time to go, why am I having this thought? I despise this action. Why am I having this thought?
Right.
And I was able to work through it. The way I was able to work through it, I asked myself, would I hang myself? Absolutely fucking not.
Right.
Would I take pills? No. Would I cut my wrists? No. Would I go jump off something? No. Well, then why in the hell am I thinking about getting my gun and shooting myself in the head? I don't want to die.
Right.
That's obvious.
Right.
It's easy. Because it was easy. It was an easy way out. And I was able to rationalize. That was the first time I was ever able to rationalize all that. Was on LSD. It's like, no, I've had therapists tell me this shit. I've had them give me medicine for this shit. And here I am, I take 100 micrograms of LSD and sit in front of a TV watching a music video, and I don't want to kill myself anymore.
Yeah.
That's a huge change.
Yeah, man. You know, I just, my little experience, I have a tendency to get off the rails with thinking, and I ruminate over stuff, and I stress, and also I nuts. And I started microdosing psilocybin, and it was about over a course of a week where I was thinking about it, and then something just came in my head and was like, no, you think about it this way. Like, I'm like constantly worried about the business. I'm constantly worried about things. And you're like, dude, you're going to be the next, it was like this weird thought came in my head where they're like, where I was like, they're just going to say, hey, did you hear about Damien? This happened, this happened, this happened. It was like something like that. And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. And I was done. Right. It was something so simple and stupid that my mind self-corrected. And what I enjoyed afterwards was when any of those thoughts came in, that thought just popped back in my head and fixed it. Right. And
bingo.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then all of a sudden it just like everything in your chest is kind of just like, you know, one of my buddies I grew up with, we're having this conversation 2 months ago, and I just saw him. He's out in Utah, and big BJJ guy. We wrestled when we were kids, and yeah, really intense. And he's like got anger issues. So I told him about microdosing, and I hooked him up with the site. And he goes, dude, yeah. He goes, it just kind of was like, okay, I'm just not doing that. And this is why. It's like that one little thought that comes into your head and just fixes it. And then afterwards, it stays. You don't need to do it again. And that's where I was sold on this shit.
Exactly. It's not something that you need to take every day or every 4 to 6 hours.
Right.
Bam, it's done. It's like, wait a minute, what the hell was I thinking?
Right. Yeah. You know, you're watching people self-medicate with alcohol all the time. And, you know, that's a given. And then the medications that we're on are, you know, meant to keep us being lifetime customers. You know,
exactly.
You know, they're meant to just, and you're like, you know, dude, I don't want to be having to take this pill every goddamn day. I don't have to take, you know, and now what you're doing to your body and the fact that your body self-regulates this with serotonin, you know, yeah, it's in there. You know what I mean? We're engineered.
Exactly. Well, and the funny thing is, this is medicine that was used for thousands of years.
Yes.
It wasn't until Europeans started conquering the world and spreading. Right. And I don't want to get into race shit or anything like that. That's not what I'm going to. But when, like in America, when we started outlawing tribal medicines, tribal dances, tribal rituals. Why? Why did we do that? What is it? The Ute Indians right over here. They were using bufo, the Sonoran desert toad. Mm-hmm. They were using his poison, the poison that you extract and dry off. They were smoking that in pipes. That's DMT. Right. That's 5-MeO DMT. So, and they had rituals. Like you had a war party and you had rituals to go to war. And then when you came back, you had homecoming parties. You reintegrated your people into society. And society was smaller. It was more tight-knit. It was more dependent upon each other. As we get rid of those things, we lost medicines that we might not have never needed opiates for pain.
Right.
They don't treat pain. They mask pain receptors, which causes your body to create more pain receptors in the same area. So why are we using opiates for pain? They don't do anything.
They're not fixing anything, right? They're just keeping you on. I mean, people, I'm sure like many people saw Dope Sick. Many people saw, the Crime of the Century on HBO. I mean, there's like now that these things are coming to mind but we've had, I mean, I'm in a suburb. I know 5 kids that have OD'd,
Oh, Jesus.
and this is like, all of them. And then Narcan, that's just bringing them back now,
Yeah.
so it's like, we're still not solving the problem.
And
when you're
we got all these people that still think the problem is the drugs too.
right.
Drugs don't lead people to addiction. No matter what anybody says, drugs don't lead people to addiction. Trauma leads people to addiction. Issues in their life.
Can't agree more. There's a reason why people are filling this hole. And my view on addiction from when I was young to when I'm now is 180 degrees. And I have so much,
Me too.
I have so much empathy for people who are here because something is broken in them and they're trying to fix it. And, when, these therapies are out there, and again, you can talk to somebody all you want, but there's, it's tricky. And, because, just talking about it, I don't know, there's something that just, it's not enough for a lot of people.
My wife's brother broke his neck, and they told him he would never, he was going to be a quadriplegic. He broke his neck because methamphetamines, he was caught up with that, but
right.
He got methamphetamines in the hospital and he walked out.
Wow.
He's crippled.
Right.
But he's walking today because of methamphetamine. And every doctor is saying there's no way. Well, if there's no way he was going to walk again and he walked out of your hospital, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
I'm a firm believer that every single drug we have does have a purpose.
Right.
Now, but what that purpose is, pharmaceutical companies never going to be honest.
No.
They've got so many lobbyists that cannabis is illegal still on a federal level.
You can't get a patent on cannabis. You can't get a patent on DMT. You can't get a patent on psilocybin. You can't get a patent on methamphetamine. You can't, there's no money.
Exactly. When you take the money away, well, make it illegal so that people can't get it.
Right.
Well, but that the natural medicine isn't killing people. Not that meth is natural medicine. I was just using that as an example.
Right. Fair enough.
Strange, weird things. I mean, heroin actually does have medical uses. Cocaine has medical uses.
Right.
So, I mean, what the drug war isn't fixing anything. It hasn't.
Not working.
You
doesn't work.
You can't fix a health issue with police.
Right.
They're cops. They're not doctors.
Right. And that's where, again, there's so much money in, all the, look, now we could spend another 10 hours on this.
Yeah.
But, you're looking at like, look, as I said, where there's money, there's a crime, right? I mean, this is like stuff that is at such a high level when it comes to military, pharmaceutical, food. I'm like, there's stuff I'm like, where, it's just like everybody, and tech is trying to get there now where they can manipulate laws to put them in their favor. You're looking at, there's just, oh God, yeah.
The corruption runs deep.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's human nature, right? I'm like,
it is.
Look, I gotta tell you, if I was a billionaire, I don't know, I may be a super asshole. Right? I'm like, I don't know. I know I've been able to live a decent life and put my kids through school and go on vacation and do certain things. But if I had like a ton of dude, I don't even know. I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm better suited now because I know in my 20s or 30s, dude, I would be a lunatic. When these guys sit there and they're like looking at a professional athlete, like, look at him blowing all his money. I'm like, I got news for you. If somebody handed me $20 million a year when I was like in my 20s, I'm like, all my friends got Harleys. I'm like, we are going to Vegas every other week. I'm buying. I go, I am out of my mind.
Yes. Yeah.
And I grew up with two parents. So, and I'm like, I don't know what my tendency is. Yeah. So, there's just too much. There's too much grift for everybody. And I know we like to, we have a tendency to point the finger, but look, man, it's different when someone's handing you, $180,000 a month job. Sitting on the board of an energy company in the Ukraine. I don't know if you're saying no to that, right?
Yeah.
It's a hard no, man. It's a hard no.
Especially in the way today's society has moved in values. One of the most freeing things that happened to me with psychedelics was it just really triggered this minimalistic attitude in me.
Right.
And I still have things. I have nice things, but everything I have is functional. Right. I don't have shit that just sits.
Right.
Like the McMansions that collect things.
Yeah.
Those don't make people happy.
No, they don't.
What makes me happy is being outdoors. I've had 3 knee surgeries on my right knee, and I normally hike every day. But for the last week, my knee's been busted up. But my wife and I are out normally every day hiking the mountains for at least a couple hours, just because that's what's important. The things you see, the things you feel, in our society today is just. Have you ever read the book Tribe by Sebastian Junger?
I've heard of it. I will now.
He gets into why our society, and just what you were talking about, makes it so difficult for folks to come home from war. And it's, in our society, like you're saying, when somebody can hand you $180,000 and be like, well, here, and that's a lot of money. Like, what do you, I could do a lot with that,
Right. Yeah.
That's hard to turn away from. And then it boils down to what kind of morals has our society instilled into you as an individual.
Right.
And that gets into one of the reasons it's so hard for vets to come home. The Republican Democrat divide.
Yeah. I don't know.
Y'all sent us out there. You sent us to go defend everybody back here, and then we come back and y'all are at each other's throats.
Right.
Screw you both. You both suck.
Dude, really simple. Right. I'm like, no party system and term limits in Congress.
Yep.
And lose all the lobbyists. Okay. Now we can start.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I don't give a shit where you're from. I want to hear what you stand for, what you believe in, what your plan is. Go,
exactly.
And then, but it's too, it's easy again to be. We have a need to be tribal. I mean, that's like built into us, right? So,
exactly.
That's how we survive. And
we're animals.
That's it. We're social animals that need each other to survive. And to your point before, talking to my son as he gets ready to go to college, I'm like, look, man, there's like the most important decisions you can make are the people you choose to have in your life. I go, they're going to make your life great or they're going to make it shit. The rest of the stuff is just accumulating things. Right. So I'm like, you buy something, I go, it's great. You'll get some stuff, you'll enjoy it, but then sometimes it just sits, and then it's like, okay, it loses its luster. Like you get another motorcycle, you get another car, you get another whatever, I'm like, it's going to be just another thing. And I go, look, it's like, there's enough and there's things you can enjoy, but then it's like, it's just stuff, and you can live without all that stuff.
Exactly. Everything is stuff. When one of our favorite things to do, me and my wife, is just pick up and go and just be out in the middle of nowhere, because it's just wonderful. It's free.
Yeah. Right.
It builds your heart.
Yeah, man. It's like leave my house without my cell phone. It's like, holy shit. But I was like, when we were a kid, man, you just run out the house, no money, no nothing, just go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still a skateboarder, and I used to love just grab the board, just start skating.
Right.
Lose everything in the world.
Right. That's it.
Yeah.
So listen, man, that was great. I mean, thank you so much for
having me on.
It's my pleasure, man. We're going to keep in touch. I want to, now we'll put the link to the website in the description wherever we post this thing. It's ophealing.org, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you guys got like social media links and stuff like that, or?
We've got an Instagram that we're hardly ever on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I have my wife handles that stuff. I'm like minimally on social media, actually, even though we advertise all over the place on it. So,
it's an unfortunate evil now.
Hey, it's where they are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is,
yeah.
So the fact is that you guys are doing this all out of pocket is, I don't know. We'll see what we can do there. So yeah, Jason, thank you again so much for for doing what you're doing, man, and taking on this mission. Literally, it's huge and much needed. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you, man. And if you're ever out here in Colorado, you gotta come by.
100%.
We got a range.
Let's go. Okay, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Go ahead, you too.